Okay, hello, good afternoon. I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet because I know that it's me and Lucky Julian before we go for the social. So, I'm Bijal, happy to be here. EuroIX is a membership-based association, and here are some of, all of our members. But excuse the slide. Something seems to have happened in the process of and we have patrons. Patrons are typically organisations that work closely with Internet exchange points or have a keen interest in Internet exchange points. I know that there's a few of you in the room today, so thanks to all our patrons for the continued support. So a quick bit about our some of the things at EuroIX. So actually, before I go into our activities, does everyone know what or who EuroIX is? Oh, surprisingly low. Okay, so EuroIX is a membership association for Internet exchange points. We have 75 members. We have 10 patrons, who you've just seen. We do a number of activities which are obviously IXP focused. We have 2 meetings a year which are hosted by one of our members. Our next one is coming up in Finland, in Tampere. We work on a project, we're leading the IXP database project, which is what I'm going to be talking about mostly later. We do other things like we have a root server workshop, we do automation workshops, IXP manager workshops, workshops for marketeers, and other things as well. All these workshops are there designed to help the IXP operate better and to give skills to the employees at the IXP so that they can, hopefully make things better for its members as well. In the spirit of helping IXPs, we have 2 support programs. One is a fellowship, and we have a Mentor IX program as well, which is there to support IXPs in need. We do a number of reports. We collect a lot of data from our members. We produce a number of reports. Some of these are public, and you can find them on the website. The benchmarking is probably, I think, one of my favorites. It's now been going on for 15 years. And we get a lot of really interesting data, which we then share with the IXs that have participated. And then we also make some of those results the non-sensitive data in there public also. A new project we're working on is called the Peering Toolbox. Now, this is actually a community-driven project. We had a number of community members come and say that we have so many new participants at our Internet exchange point, and we're finding that we have to point them to different places all over the web. You might find some good information here and there, and there's no one place where you can go for everything. So we're building a peering toolbox for this for that, and that's coming soon. We have a newsletter, so if you're interested in IXPs and want to know what they're up to, then you can subscribe to the newsletter. And actually, one of the things that came out of the workshops that we've been doing is a standardized root server large BGP community list. You can find that also on our website. We like social media, so you can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, or watch us on YouTube. I hear there's a new thing for that as well. Somebody might... TikTok? Anyone heard of that? No? Anyway. So, the IXF and the IXP database. So, who knows what the IXF is? Who's heard of the IXF? Who's heard of the IX-FJSON? Okay, right, good. So, so the IXF is a lightweight organization made up of the 4 Internet exchange point associations. So EuroIX, we represent Europe, and actually it's a little bit more than Europe because we're following the right region. So as you can see, there's some parts of the EuroIX region which isn't exactly Europe, but that's the region, and it's the same region that RIPE NCC follow as well. There is our sister organizations, LACIX and AFIX and APIX, and together we've signed an MOU which basically just says that we are going to work together where we can and do things to benefit our members, the IXPs, and for the good of the internet as well. The IX-FJSON schema. So this is another actually community-driven initiative. Came about when we were sitting at a EuroIX meeting and thinking, what information can IXPs give us that can be useful? What data can we use from IXPs to build certain reports or put different information together so that networks or even IXPs can analyze the data and use it in their planning and or for research. So we had a couple of meetings about this and thought about how we're going to do this. And in the end, we put together what is now called the IX-FJSON schema. So the IX-FJSON schema contains information about the IXP participants, the IXP locations, IP addresses, MAC addresses, hardware information on both the IXP and the participants, and also root server data. So you can find the schema and the documentation on the GitHub repository. And IXPs now can also add their IX-FJSON schema to Peering DB. So if you are connected to multiple internet exchange points, it might be worth asking them where they are with that and if they offer that also. Because then that will then save you time as a network from keeping your Peering DB records updated. So what is the IXP database? So the IXP database came about when IXPs didn't really have any place to publish, besides their websites, of course, publish their data accurately. And there wasn't anywhere where this was actually available. So being the Association of Internet Exchange Points, and we already had a database, which was then known as the EuroIX database, we, together with the IXF, so the other members, rather than going off and building different databases in different parts of the world, we thought, well, why don't we just come together and build one big global database that we all agree on and we can all focus on getting right. So the IXP database came about. So what the IXP database does is those IXPs that have implemented the IX-FJSON, the IXP database imports this data directly from the IXPs, and it can also use other tools to get this information. So tools such as IXP Manager, we're working on other systems that we can also use to get more data. So this data can be used in order to provide a single, comprehensive, and graphical view of the global internet, which is available on the website and via an API. So why did we do this? Because the members asked for it. And as a membership organization, we like to keep our members happy. And I think the key thing is that there was no place where this data was fully available accurately. So, some of the features. So, we've been keeping an eye on what's been going on with IXPs. As I said, we've got an eye on the different regions because of the federation. So, here's just some statistics and some information that you can gather from the database today. So, just looking at the growth of IXPs, you can see that pretty much all the regions, nine years ago, the growth, you can see, there's growth everywhere, almost double at least in most places. So this is where you can actually get some live data. So I know that the screens aren't very good, but the screenshots aren't very good, but if you actually go onto the database yourself, you can actually just take a look at the live data, which may even be updated from when I took my screenshots. So what you have here is you have the newest IXPs in the database. So for example, here we go. So last week we added Qatar Internet Exchange, and these ones are the ones that were added just before that. IXPs by connected ASNs. IXBR added their APIs last week and caused a massive jump in the number of ASNs we've got in the database now, but also the number of unique ASNs, which I'm going to come to afterwards. You can also see the hardware data. So we do this because we collect the MAC addresses. So what we do, so the unknowns are actually ones that we're working through to figure out where they actually belong. So you can see from the MAC addresses which hardware is being used at the IXP, which is this one here, and you can see also which hardware is being used in the participants. We have traffic. We're currently working on a standard JSON traffic schema, which hopefully should be released in the coming month, and then we'll have a lot more. At the moment, all of our traffic graphs come directly from IXP Manager. So today there's 85 IXPs that use IXP Manager. So we get those 85 traffic graphs directly from IXP Manager, but we'll be getting more as soon as we have a standard JSON in place. So another cool thing that we've got here, so you can log on to the IXP directory. You can see I've put in LINX here to get a list of all the LINX IXs that are in there. You can see LINX have got all their APIs in there, and they're all manners compliant. So things you can do, you can use the search here, and you can search for IXPs. You can tick the box and get IXPs with APIs only. So if you're looking for the most accurate information, I suggest you do that, and you get the IXPs there. You can also search by region. So if you're looking for IXPs in Africa, Asia, South America, this search is actually going to... we're working on improving the searches in terms of getting city and country also really clear, so you can very, very clearly see which IXPs are in which city as well. If we dig into, so over here you see where it says compare, and then you've got these plus buttons. So along the IXP directory, if you want to compare any IXs, you can actually just click on those plus buttons, and you can compare. And this is an example that I've just done of LINX Cardiff and LINX Scotland. So you can see a little bit of business data from the IX, so number of locations, whether they're manners compliant, join-in requirements, other things. There's also space for prices if the IXP wishes to enter their prices in there. We also then compare the number of ASs. So you can see the number of common ASs between those two sites, and you can also see which ones are unique. So, for example, if you're specifically looking to join an IX and you want to see which ASNs you can get there and which ones you can't by comparing to another IX, you can actually use this tool to do so. Yeah, I think that's that slide. The IXP profile. So you can actually dig even further into the IXP profile. And what we have here is we have all the ASNs that are, so we're looking at LINX Cardiff here, by the way. So you have all the different ASNs that are connected, you have the name, you have the type. So this type actually comes from Peering DB. So it's where the network has defined itself. So we pull that from Peering DB, so you can see which type of network is there. You can see the IP addresses, the MAC addresses, whether that network is manners compliant, whether they have an entry in Peering DB. So this is great. This has been really useful. I've had a lot of IXs come to me and say this has been so useful because it just gives us a quick snapshot of which networks are in Peering DB and which ones to quickly chase because their records are not kept updated. And last but not least, you can see the number of other exchanges that they're connected to. We also have within there an ASN directory. So the ASN directory is actually built from the data from the IXs in the IXP directory. So again, here there's a search, so you can search for ASN, participant name, IDs. You can compare ASNs. You've got the ASN name, organization, type. Again, this is taken from Peering DB. The IP address, MAC address, whether they're manners compliant, and the number of IXs that they're connected to. So, taking a little step back and looking at the number of ASN growth. So, this is actually a 10-year, 10 years worth of growth here. So we've got, if you look at the number of ASNs, for example, in, here we go, we've got Europe and Middle East. So back in 2010, there was 5,438 ASNs. In 2020, there's over 12,000. So that's quite an incredible growth there. In terms of unique ASs, 2010 we had 2,998, and then in 2020, not such a major growth there, but you can see the number of unique ASs. And by unique ASs, we mean that those ASs are only seen in that region. So what that means is that if you're a network looking to peer somewhere else to get certain ASs, you may not be able to do that where you are. So, key features. We have organizational data, infrastructure, connected networks, and traffic all available. There's different accounts, so IXPAs can have accounts, and IXPs can manage their own profiles. We have incorporated third-party data. So, for example, manners, we get a link, we get an API directly from ISOC whenever there is a new network or IX that is manners compliant. So we can show that directly on the database as well. And also from Peering DB. So we get the types of networks. So this is defined by the network, so we can see if you are looking for a particular type of networks to connect at an IX. And then also we do look at which networks are registered in Peering DB and which not, so we can highlight that as well. We have a web-based graphical user interface, and we have tools that you can have a play around with. What's new? So we've just released, well, I say just, it was at the end of last year, released version 1 of the JSON schema. So this actually contains a little bit more information on switches and root servers, so actual like switch names, models, versions, and this is really useful for IXs to share between themselves, because if there's an IX that's running a particular piece of hardware with a particular version of code, there has been instances when another IX has had a problem with a bug or something, and they've been able to kind of contact by looking up in the directory and seeing which IXs have that same hardware and software. They're able to contact them and say, "Oh, hey, I've got this problem. Can you help? Or have you seen something like this?" So it's been really useful there. We have API authentication and documentation coming. The documentation is coming very soon. The authentication is also very, very close to coming. So this is so that IXPs, the current public API doesn't contain everything. It contains information on the members and the locations, but it doesn't have all the hardware and data in there, because not all IXs are comfortable in publishing that. So what we've done is we've made it easy for them, and we've built in authentication so that we, as the database, can still receive all the information, and we can present it in an aggregated format, and we can make tools so that you can use that data, but you just won't see the data kind of openly like that. We are working on new JSON schemas for traffic, so I mentioned that earlier, and root server as well, so that we can start getting some direct information from root server, so we can build that into the database. And we're looking at doing some mapping, so mappings and sophisticated analysis tools. So I love seeing things on maps. I love maps. And I think it's really useful to be able to see things in on a map when you're looking at potential places to go, and you can see what ASNs are present, which ones aren't. And I guess the other big thing we're doing this year is workshops and guides to actually help IXPs implement this. So today we have 225 IXP exports, and they're coming from these places. So we have 19 from the US, 87 from the Euro IX region, 66 thanks IXBR, in the LAC region, and 12 from AFEX and 41 from APEX. So, we have a mailing list for users. If you're interested to find out more about the JSON and the member list schema, have a look on the GitHub site. The API is live. The website is live. And if you have any questions, we have an admin team who will be more than happy to help. We are also looking for sponsorship for this work, so if you think it's good work and you think there is merit in doing more here, then please come and speak to me or contact me, and I'd love to hear from you. So, that's it. Are there any questions?
Okay. If there's no more questions, we'll move on. Thank you, Bijal.
Thank you.